Protesters gathered in cities around Colorado and the whole country today, pushing back against President Donald Trump's agenda and Trump advisor Elon Musk. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jennifer Meckles. More than 1,400 protests were scheduled across 50 states today. Civil rights organizations, labor unions, LGBTQ+ advocates, just to name a few. They called this the hands-off protests, pushing back on mass layoffs of federal workers, deportations, cuts to federal funding for health programs and DEI initiatives, and protections for transgender people. CNN reports nearly 600,000 people signed up promising to attend an event across the country today. Here in Colorado, we saw gatherings across several cities, the largest in Denver, outside the state capitol, as well as Boulder and other places in the state. We spoke with protesters who said they're afraid of losing their benefits and talked about the many reasons they joined the crowds today.
I'm terrified that all of our freedoms are going to go away and they're going to take my Social Security, which I've worked 45 years for.
I'm hoping that it shows that we are united, that we can put up a good fight for this, and that we can't be disregarded. You know, our opinions, our feelings, our anger, things we feel that it won't be just lost.
Hundreds of people are also demonstrating a few miles away from Trump's golf course in Jupiter, where he had spent the morning golfing. Now, these protests come on the day of President Trump's 10% tariffs taking effect on all nations. The announcement on Wednesday led to two of the worst days on Wall Street since the pandemic started. The Dow, the S&P 500, NASDAQ, all closing yesterday down more than 5%. Trump has suggested steeper tariffs for many countries could still be coming as early as next week. 9 News business expert Ryan Frazier joined 9 News this morning talking about some of the impacts you could be seeing soon.
I think what we can expect is likely higher prices as these tariffs start to settle in. So the cost of everything from electronics to clothing to your food could possibly go up even further. Reduced purchasing power, meaning as inflation rises, our dollar doesn't go as far. So that dollar you have, it's not going to stretch as far as it used to. And then probably the biggest concern, in my view, as a business expert, as a business owner, as someone who is active in the financial markets, is job security.
British carmaker Jaguar Land Rover is now pausing its shipments to U.S. for a month over tariffs. Trump placed a 25% tariff on all imported cars on Thursday. The automaker says it's taking this pause to, quote, address the new trading terms with business partners. The company says it has more than 200 dealerships, and as the trade war goes on, there are fears of a recession pushing people to be much more cautious with their spending.
I'm trying to lower my expenses because I think we very much could be going into a recession.
I want to buy my car back because I'm leasing the car. So that's a few $100s that I'm paying every month.
We're also seeing some retaliatory tariffs from other nations. China placed a 34% tax on all U.S. imports, and other countries are now weighing if they should be doing the same. Here in Colorado, late last night, a jury in Boulder County convicted the driver who killed 17-year-old cyclist Magnus White. White was training with Team USA at the time of his death in 2023. After 7 hours of deliberation yesterday, the jury found Yiva Smiljanska guilty of vehicular homicide. Magnus's parents and cycling safety advocates say this fight is not over. 9 News reporter Ria Jha has their reaction to the verdict and what they're doing now to protect the next rider on the road.
My son was Magnus's age when he got killed.
You didn't have to know 17-year-old Magnus White to understand his family's pain.
I had the privilege of dropping him off at CU Boulder for his freshman year, the day I went over to their house and met Michael and Jill.
Like many who've stood beside them, Peter Piccolo, the executive director of Bicycle Colorado, has been waiting for Michael and Jill White to see justice in their son's case. Friday night, they finally got it.
Today, the jury found the driver guilty. This verdict acknowledges what we have known all along. Magnus's death was not an accident, it was a crime.
Sadly, we've learned that we are not alone. Through countless families we've met, this happens every day across this state, across this country, and that needs to change.
We need voices like the Whites.
Peter says the Whites have been essential in turning this tragedy into change.
And we need to speak up. People need to write their legislators or their council members and demand that they begin passing legislation that prioritizes the safety of bicyclists and pedestrians.
How's it going? Doing well. What's going on?
That advocacy is a regular part of Michael Bauer's job.
They're just designed for protection, not for warmth.
He's the owner of Campus Cycles, a bike shop in Denver.
We won't even send a customer out for a test ride, much less send them home with a new bike without kind of educating them on what they need to be aware of as they hit the streets. Nobody wants to get that call that something happened to their loved one. And I honestly don't believe that anyone wants to be behind the wheel and be responsible for that.
It's a call for shared responsibility.
Again, Magnus was doing everything right. It's a privilege to drive, and we abuse that privilege often by not taking the responsibility of keeping ourselves and others safe seriously.
In Denver, Rhea Jha, 9 News.
The driver in this case is scheduled to be sentenced in June. She faces a sentence of 2 to 6 years. Advocacy groups like Bicycle Colorado are now working on legislation to better hold drivers accountable who hit and kill cyclists and pedestrians. It was a violent weekend across the metro. A teenager is now recovering tonight after they were injured in a drive-by shooting last night. This is according to Aurora Police, which says officers responded to a call on North Peoria just before midnight. They found a teenager there who'd been shot. He went to the hospital. He's expected to be okay, but no information yet from police about a suspect. And a woman has now died from her injuries after she was shot in an Aurora parking lot. Police say it was after an argument of some kind. APD says that shooting happened last night, in the area of North Peoria. And when police arrived, they found a woman who had been shot. The suspect is named Stanley Daves, reportedly inside a car nearby with a weapon. Police arrested him, and he is now facing charges for first-degree murder. Not clear yet what the relationship might be between the victim and the suspect. A driver is facing charges tonight after investigators say he hit and killed a man in Aurora, as well as the man's dog, and then took off. Police say the driver later turned himself in a couple hours later. He was released on bond. 65-year-old Alberta Buitrago was walking his dog, Nova, on Thursday when police say a speeding SUV jumped the curb and hit both of them on the sidewalk. Buitrago died at the hospital, and the dog was killed instantly. Police say the driver, 73-year-old Michael Graham Hyde, turned himself in a couple hours later, paid a $1,000 bond, and was released. But Buitrago's wife and nieces are now grieving, and they call this an unimaginable loss.
He paid $1,000, and to us the system is saying that my uncle's life and Nova's life is worth $1,000, and that this man can get away with it. And that person should not have a car. That person should be in jail.
Graham Hyde was arrested on charges of careless driving resulting in death and leaving the scene of an accident involving injury. The family of the victim is now making arrangements for Alberto's funeral. Let's take a quick break from the headlines and check in on your forecast this Saturday afternoon. A lot of us woke up to some fresh snow this morning. Here's some video of snow inside Coors Field. Of course, the Rockies home opener yesterday was met with bitterly cold temperatures and snow. A lot of that snow starting to melt away as we turn the page on a classic Colorado spring storm. Here's a live look over Denver right now outside of the 9 News studios. 9 News Weather Impact Team meteorologist Corey Reppenhagen joins us. We're having a warm up, but I have to mention again that we tied for the second coldest home opener in Colorado Rockies history yesterday.
Right? I think it
snowed the whole game.
I know. I was watching you out there the whole time. You look like you're having a great time.
I was having fun, but I was able to pop in inside of McGregor Square, so I was fine. I felt bad for the players, though. Can you imagine trying to hit a ball in snow? Your fingers, like, ugh. And the people behind home plate, I kept saying they look like the South Park characters in their parkas the whole time. That's not baseball weather.
Yeah, you know, and as far as the fans go, they can deal with the weather if they get a win. So it was a double whammy for us yesterday for sure. But the warm sunshine that you see now, it's not exactly warm down here, but the sun feels nice. That's going to carry into tomorrow morning, and that will kick off a warming trend that could eventually end us in the 80s here. If you look at the live radar here, not much snow going on here. We do still have some down here on South I-25 and also out here in the San Juans, where there still is a winter weather advisory till tonight, but we are finally clear here in the skies over Denver, and you can see that reflected over the live satellite picture. Now, as we go into tomorrow, we're going to see those temperatures rise a good 15 degrees. In Denver, right now in the 40s, we're going to be up into near 60 degrees tomorrow. I'll have more on the forecast for that and how warm it's going to get as we go through this week coming up in the forecast.